Alright, so I posted a video of SuSE 6.3, an ancient Linux distribution from 1999, and thought, maybe a supplemental, maybe a little bit extra, especially with regards to audio and video success and failure that I've had. So I wanted to show you what the line looks like, how I'm starting up qemu. In particular, the VGA cirrus is very important. That's the video card. Memory, I used to have something kind of large in here, but back in those days, in fact, the machine I had back in that time period only had 128 meg on it. So I went ahead and gave it more, 512. But the idea is that you really don't need much memory. Everything was smaller back then, 32-bit, so you can almost cut everything in half with regards to memory and disk utilization. But things are small, so you could easily in a 10 gigabyte, 20 gigabyte drive install almost everything in the universe back then. So I wanted to show that. The NIC I set up to be bridged, because I already have a bridge established on my machine for virtual machines, and so I'm just going to leverage that for running this qemu session, which is going to be running, again, kind of like a Type 2 hypervisor approach. And that's so I can get things like a PC net NIC to the virtual machine, because I need some old hardware. For audio, I was going to use Sound Blaster 16, but it takes a little bit of setup, because you have to set up all your ISA parameters with your IRQ and memory, DMA, and all this, and I thought I'll try to use the Ensoniq 1370 instead, just to make it easy, and then using Pulse Audio, though this is running Pipewire, but with the compatibility and everything built in, so that should work okay. The first drive I have specified is going to be where the OS resides. The second one I added, I moved my home directory over there, and there's some reasons for that. One of the reasons is so it can kind of be my in-between. So rather than trying to get things across to the machine, and you say, well, just SSH, SCP it. There is no SSH on this host. So again, you have to just understand the times in 1999 and what we were dealing with. And so normally back then you would have done something like RCP using the old BSD style, rlogin, RSH, RCP program sets. But to get those set up on a new Linux is somewhat problematic, just because they're considered to be very insecure. So rather than doing all that, to keep it easy for myself, I'm going to mount, via loop, the home directory and kind of use that as my go-between. So as long as the qemu session is shut down, and that I can get at that file system via a loop mount, and write files to it, and then boot the thing back up, and suddenly have files there. So that's going to be that's my way of transferring files across to the system. So when I installed this initially, of course this isn't install, this is runtime. At install I would have configured a CD-ROM device with the first SuSE 6.3 CD-ROM ISO as the location. But in qemu, the ability to swap dynamically those CDs, it's going to be problematic. So what I did is just installed a base config, the minimal, to make sure that everything came off of just CD1, and that gets me something that's installed. And then I installed the rest after copying all of my CDs, content-wise, so not ISO-wise, but actually the content, to get all the RPMs over there. So I have a repository local to pull from. And normally you would have done this maybe in the olden days across the network or whatever, but you know, we don't have any of that. There's nothing, that infrastructure isn't there to get online repositories for SuSE 6.3. So instead, I just copied all the RPMs off of the SuSE 6.3 CDs and then put that local on the host itself, and as needed I can just go in, jump in, and RPM install the packages that I need. So that's how I took it the rest of the way with regards to what I wanted to have installed in the system. I wanted to show you that. So there's the boot line. So let's go ahead and boot it up. So it's kind of, I mean, it's pretty quick, and a lot of that's just because of the simplicity of Linux back then. So even though we're using old style sys5 and net and shell scripts and bash and everything, the reason why it's so fast is just isn't a lot there to look at. Now I can log in as my own user here. If I can do it right. And then I just do a start X to start up my X session, and I went ahead and raised the resolution up. I could go ahead and support 1280 by 1024. I still wanted to kind of stay in the realm of what you would have had back then, so as to not get too tricky with some things. So I stuck with the 1280 by 1024, and this is maybe 24-bit plane depth. But I wanted to show you some of the things, you know. So you saw the prior video, which was at slightly lower resolution. I wanted to show you kind of where we are media wise. So I took an MPEG-2 rip that I had made just recently, Once Upon a Time Season 6 Episode 1, and then I converted it to MPEG-1, and I know everyone's going to say, what are you doing? It's like, again, you need to go back to 1999. Okay, so with regards to what kind of players and things that we might have, so I'm going to go ahead and play just a few seconds of this, just so you can see. So here I am playing this MPEG-1 video file, but the MPEG play command back then in those days, you notice the quality is horrible, right? But that's, you know, that's the codec, that's the day, the way it is. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. So that's a DVD rep, just converted to MPEG-1 video, but no audio because MPEG play does not support audio. And so I thought, well, you know, what did we use back then, you know, to play videos? And back then, what you used a lot of times, sad but true, is the real video player commercial, if you remember that. And so I thought, well, I'll try to see if I can convert. So I created this thing called test3.ra, or RM, doesn't matter. And I said, well, I'll just try to see if I can play that. And what's going to happen here is you're going to get really crummy audio, and hopefully that'll come across on the video. But no video from this video file. So it's like I can't win. It's like I can either get, you know, crummy audio, or I can get, you know, no audio and some video. So I've not been successful in actually getting something, you know, with audio and video to play yet. So I wanted to show you kind of the progress of that. And also this real player, I just tried to kill it. It's not going to die. If I leave it running, it'll eventually kill my X session. So it's a nasty piece of software. So I'm going to hard kill it just to get rid of it, so this thing will stay up and running for now. And then, you know, once you're done, you just log out, which will take you back to your shell session. And then from here, I usually go in as root. I mean, there's no sudo here. I mean, it's just, anyway. It's kind of fun to play around with boxes as sold. Power off actually exists as a command, but unfortunately, about the only thing it's going to be able to do is take us to a halt state in qemu here, and that's okay. Just the main thing is to make sure that everything gets shut down and the file systems get unmounted. And then once that's done, then you can just close off the window, and effectively you've powered off your host. And here I wanted to show you how I'm going to mount that file system, that home file system. And so if you look at the file, like with fdisk, if I do it as root, probably I can do it. You'll see that the boot start for the start, I shouldn't say boot, the start, ignore that boot column, the start is at 63, and so basically 63 times 512 is going to give you that offset value that that you're going to need to mount. So that's what I use there. That's where that offset value comes in, to make sure that we're getting to the place where the actual partition starts, which is where our file system is going to exist. So if I do that, then if I go into SuSE 63-2, there's my home directory. And if I was root, we could actually see it. Then there's my test, MPEG-2 file, my test start. So that's how I can, easily transfer files back and forth. I just do that, and then when I'm done, we'll just, unmount this, and then we can go back and boot our qemu after I've done my file transfers. I wanted you to see that just kind of as a little bit of bonus, and bonus for free. Hope you enjoyed it.